The following message is being transmitted at the request of Police Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. The Police Department has issued a state of emergency at this time. Do not use the telephone line unless an emergency occurs. Updates will come through as they happen.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City is the cinematic reboot after the Mila Jovovich-led series kind of went off the rails. The idea here was to return this franchise to its horror roots. And in certain aspects, I believe they succeeded in that. There are a handful of horror sequences in this movie that are very video game-esque. One such sequence involves a pitch-black room full of zombies, and only the firing of a gun illuminates the action at times. There's another similar sequence with a lighter that is also very reminiscent of the games. And of course there's a lot of blood and violence which Resident Evil fans have become accustomed to.
Here I come. Here I come.
But here's the deal. As fans of Resident Evil, you will notice a lot of references in this movie. Everything from locations to situations inspire memories of the greatest survival horror game of all time. The problem is that they are just that, references. The movie itself is devoid of the claustrophobic and atmospheric tone that made the game so memorable. You can reference the games for days, but all that really does is remind me that this subject matter has already been covered and done a lot better.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Why watch this when I could just go replay the games and have a better experience? To me, the games always gave you this feeling of isolation. And as you explored the city alone, you were never quite sure what you were going to encounter around each corner. And none of the Resident Evil movies have been able to recapture that feeling. I guess the idea here is that they needed to make things a bit more cinematic. But sometimes when you do that, you lose a little bit of what makes the game so special. That's kind of what happened with Mortal Kombat earlier this year.
That makes sense.
So they basically threw a bunch of fan-favorite characters into one story, and having them be all quippy and saying lines of dialogue that are supposed to sound cool, but are actually kind of cringe. And that's just not what Resident Evil is to me. Depending on which game you play, Resident Evil was always about one character being thrust into a dire situation. It's all about survival, and I guess a one-character movie doesn't sound all that appealing to studios.
Anybody care about what I want?
I do.
Shut up. Get out.
But the early Resident Evil games which feature this structure were some of the most cinematic video games that I've ever played in my life. So I guess what I'm saying is that if you're going to adapt a video game into a movie, you need to have a little bit more faith in what made the franchise popular to begin with. I'm just convinced at this point that we are never going to see an adaptation of this franchise that it deserves.
Why do these things always happen to me?
As I've mentioned, this movie features a lot of recognizable characters, some of them in name only. A couple of these characters, namely Jill and Leon, were terribly miscast. They don't look the part, they don't act the part, they don't sound the part. Jill's existence in this movie was unnecessary and ultimately amounts to nothing. And then we have Leon, my buddy Leon, without a doubt my favorite Resident Evil character, and he's now been misrepresented in movies twice.
Fuck me, right?
This is a schlubby, buffoonish version of Leon that honestly made me hate him more than anything. The excuse they give is that he's a rookie cop, so that's why he acts like an idiot a lot of the times. But I'm just going to take this moment and say it now, hashtag not my Leon. Leon was always a character that was naturally cool to me and in control. And at no point in the Resident Evil 2 game did I ever feel like he was useless as he is in this movie. Chris and Claire at least looked the part a little bit more than their counterparts, so the casting was a bit better for those characters. But to me, the story that they gave these two characters was just so boring and cliche.
Why?
I mean, it's Resident Evil. I'm not looking for deep character analysis here. But if you're going to use screen time to try to give them a backstory that connects them with the events of what's happening with Umbrella, then at least make that interesting, and they just didn't do that. In fact, I'd say that the flashback sequences were more random than anything and felt out of place. As far as the creatures go, the zombies look good enough, but when it comes to the mutations, and I'm talking about the dogs and the lickers, they do look like their video game counterparts, but the CGI used to create them was underwhelming to say the least. Again, how did we have better CGI in 1993 than we do in 2021?
That is one big pile of shit.
Someone please explain this to me. Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City covers some familiar ground if you're a fan of the games, but it does so in the most uninspiring and forgettable way possible. Yes, it's more accurate to the games than the previous film series, but let's be honest, that's not hard to do. But that also doesn't make it good. References do not make a movie. Story, atmosphere, and execution do, all of which felt underwhelming for this adaptation. That's why I'm going to give Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City the Angry Rocky.
That's right, it stinks!
So have you seen the new Resident Evil movie? If you have, let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Y'all be cool. Nah.